uncover, explore, activate. With intention and availability, no expectations. Get ready to unleash with Kelly and Bree. Bare soul knowing.
Welcome back to another episode of our creative project.
I'm Bree.
And I'm Kelly. And today we are going to explore how we find harmony and balance through physicality and movement. Our last episode, we took a deep dive into meditation and how we can find that in stillness. And so this week we wanted to balance that out by finding it through breath, physicality, and more embodied work.
Mm-hmm. And the modality that we are going to use for this is one that is both extremely helpful, practical, and accessible, and it's Pilates. Yay! It's funny because Pilates is not exciting.
No.
It's not exciting at all, and yet it has saved my life. We've obviously amongst ourselves talked a lot about it and a little bit, I think, on some of the earlier episodes. But I've been dealing with serious injuries since I was 11 years old. My first injury, I tore my hamstring on stage. And from there, it's just every body part has been injured. And I've accepted that. I'm just always injured. I'm always in pain. Until I think I was about 21, I severely sprained a joint in my back and I was out for 2 months. I couldn't do anything. And I was working as a professional dancer, barely paying the bills. And here I was, unable to make any money, having to pay a lot of money for, physio and chiro and all of that. And that was the very beginning of my introduction into Pilates. And then over the next couple of years, I started doing it more regularly and working with, privately with my teacher, who is Jennifer Dahl, who's incredible. And that was the beginning for me of learning how to actually properly take care of my body, learning and understanding that injury doesn't have to be the norm. I don't have to just sit back and accept it. And also, and you'll attest to this, and we speak about it later with our guest, but learning that for most, definitely many dancers, me specifically, I had a six-pack since I was 8. I've always had abs. I always thought I was very strong. I'm very muscular naturally. And then starting Pilates and learning that that's all on the surface, and the actual core muscles, the deep intrinsic core muscles that support the entire being were so weak. I couldn't believe it. I was are you kidding me? Check this out. And it's yeah, but I'm not using them. I don't know how to use them. I remember when I used to go shopping, I could only go shop for an hour, walking through the mall, I'm oh my God, my back, walking hurt, everything hurt, because I hadn't been trained growing up. And most people in any sport, in any lifestyle, aren't actually trained to use those small, intricate muscles properly that allow you to lead just a really feel good life where you are supporting your system, your skeletal system, your muscular system, everything in a way that actually is so simple and so basic, but completely life-changing. So Pilates for me was the key in the door that allowed me to actually connect to my body, take control of my body's health, and actually start to imagine a life where I could go on vacation and not have to worry about pain while walking around. Or I can try a new sport or activity and not be okay, well, if I do this, I'm going to have to pay $600 to see my chiro for the next, 5 sessions and. So, yeah, it's instrumental. And I truly believe that everybody, no matter your level of activity level, can access Pilates and majorly and massively benefit from it.
Yeah, and I think even today on this episode, just giving a little taster or a little spoonful, and having a place where you can access it for free with us, and just maybe lean into the possibilities of this type of work we just hope to share that. And I love how you said it unlocked this possibility of taking, of having the authority to be without pain. That is so empowering. That is absolutely liberating. And myself too, first injury, a rib slipped when I was 12. Mm-hmm. It's just wild to hear how young we were. And then again, we weren't necessarily given the tools or the basic understanding, the fundamentals to sustain that healthy body. It's sort of like a Band-Aid. That's something that I found kept happening. I go see this person or this specialist or this therapist, and incredible, brilliant people, but not understanding that I needed to have a personal practice that I could have control of. And again, this authority, this sovereignty to self-commit to work where I could sustain the pain-free body. Yeah. Because then we adapt the identity of, well, I'm just the injured dancer, and we have related about this for years since we barely knew each other. It was like, oh yeah, you're one of those always injured people. And we're like,
They're like, hey, check it out. Right. Let's hang out in this corner together.
And how does that story really become programmed? And we're almost creating more injury because you're holding more, you're anticipating it, and then you're almost premeditating it in this way. And that's sort of where it comes into the wellness and the mental health and the emotional health. It's like I spoke on the meditation episode about how my back injury is what brought me to meditation. So everything speaks to the other, and we hope with this episode that again we can have some information to offer you. There's also so much on YouTube that is free in terms of just learning basics about something like Pilates if you do connect with this work.
Yeah, there's so many incredible ways into it, and that's why we're so excited to have Julia Cratchley on this episode, because she's so deep in this world right now doing her Pilates training, and also a fellow dancer, so she understands where we are, where many other athletes are, and the injuries that they experience, the intensities of what they do. And for her to come in now with the Pilates mind and the Pilates training, the Pilates knowledge, and to be able to kind of meld it together. So she is going to take us through a 20 or 25 minute session with some of the very basics of Pilates that you can do at any time. And it's a really fantastic way, if you haven't done Pilates, to get a taste of it, to see what it's all about, to actually try it and see how it feels in your body. I mean, we've been doing Pilates forever, and we did the session with her, and like, I felt the burn. And even though it's basic, and that's the cool thing about Pilates, is the basics are still such an incredible workout for your system. So we're going to go through that with Julia, and so that you guys have a visual as well to do this little mini class with us to get you started in the Pilates.
Yeah, and so if you feel like joining along, grab your mat, get yourself set up right now, pause. We'll go into a little interview with Jules, and then we hope to get a little quake on with you.
You'll love it, I promise. All right, we are sitting down with Julia Cratchley, who we are so excited to be doing an episode with. Julia is a very dear friend of ours and has been for a very long time, who is also on a very physical, spiritual journey of a kind of a different, I think, way than you and I are, but a way that very much complements, and that's the reason that we have you on here today. And I know you were just chatting earlier about some of the other wonderful things that you were saying.
Yeah, Julia is such a spearheader and an integral part of Toronto's contemporary dance community specifically. She is a brilliant dancer herself, a choreographer, and the artistic director of Toronto's very first immersive dance company called Transcendance project. And with that background of physicality comes a journey that often gets interrupted by some physical ailments. And Bree and I, as we spoke about, have had our own trials and tribulations. And Julia's specific journey has led her to a place where she's now pursuing becoming a Pilates instructor as well. Add that to the resume. And so we just wanted to hear a little bit about how you got to where you are and what you're working on right now.
Yeah, so I feel like we've had similar backgrounds as far as our training and our careers as dancers and stuff like that, and also a little bit our injuries as well, and which is obviously a very common part of the dance training or the professional dancer life. So for me, I had dealt with a really bad back injury, which basically took me out of performing because it just wasn't fun moving in that amount of pain anymore that I was in. So through that process, I started working with a woman, Christine Wright, that Kelly had introduced me to at the time. She had just started, and a couple months after she started, I was like, well, I'm going to jump on this bandwagon too. And I think she was, I had done Pilates work beforehand, but I think she was the first one to integrate it into a different way and really get me thinking about it and understanding my body in a different way. So I think as much as I had learned some of the information previously, it was kind of taking it on in a whole different approach. And you know, you start to see, now she does more than just Pilates. We won't categorize her just into Pilates. She's a little bit of a magic woman, but she, I think that information starts to make you understand your body in a different way, and you just start to understand how beneficial it can be for strengthening and just getting to understand your own body in a completely new mindset. So that's really what started me off with it, and I really started to understand the benefits of making my body stronger in this way of really like inwards to outwards, instead of maybe the approach of some of the gym training or HIIT training or any of that kind of stuff, which kind of works a little bit more on the outer, stronger muscles and, you know, opposite mindsets a little bit. So it really worked for me. And I think that the thing is with anything in the physical body, it's finding what works for your body. And we've had this talk before about, you know, yoga and all these different things, which are really beneficial to other people. That stuff wasn't super beneficial to me. So for me, Pilates is what definitely worked. And I've wanted to do my training in it for probably the past, I would say about 5-6 years. I'm guessing actually around the time that I started working with Christine. I always had in the back of my mind, like, oh, it'd be really great to do this training as well. But of course, with running a dance company as well as being a freelance choreographer and all that stuff, it just like was not in the cards. Like it wasn't gonna happen. There's just way too many things going on. And the place I wanted to do my training always coincided with one of our shows that we were putting on. It just wasn't going to happen. There's way too many balls to juggle. So a little bit, this is the benefit of COVID, is that having this time of not having a professional company up and running, a performance company up and running, that it's given me the time to jump into this training. So it has been the benefit to all of the, you know, fails that we've had in the past year. That it has opened up my schedule to be able to do this training. So it's been amazing. It's been also fascinating to go into this training already having, I would say, like a fair amount of knowledge of the body, of movement, of Pilates itself, and then jump into this training and be like, wow, I feel like I know absolutely nothing. So interesting to kind of go back to base level and really learn the like whys and hows and all of that behind the exercises that I feel like all of us have done for like what feels like 1,000 years. So that's been a really, really interesting approach. And so now I'm kind of I'm at the tail end of my training. And it's been for my mat training, I should say. And it's been just a really fascinating approach. And it's been incredible over the past, I guess I've been doing this training since beginning of the fall. How much stronger my body has gotten through all of this just from practicing it, you know, I'm not going to say daily, but frequently, maybe 4 or 5 times a week. And it's amazing. And it's amazing how, you know, with our injuries that are a little bit chronic in our bodies as far as, you know, some of the stuff we deal with, how much my injuries haven't turned up in the past, 5-6 months. So that's been the really fascinating journey through my training right now, is that it's just amazing that I can wake up and feel good every day, and how much stronger my body is feeling when really we haven't been as physical or as, big in our movement as we normally are as dancers and choreographers. So that's been the really fascinating point of it. And I think the thing that really draws me into it as a teacher now is the accessibility to everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's something that's really quite amazing. And I think it's for me, it's a point that I find that I'm going to really enjoy teaching people. I'm obviously always going to love training dancers and training physical people because that's where we come from and that's our world. And dancers love a challenge, so love to give that to them. But on the flip side, it's also been really interesting trying to teach. I've gotten my mom to do Pilates, who's never been a super physical person in that way. I feel like I'm going to be really interested in dealing with people that are either in like an older generation or people that have dealt with injuries and stuff like that, because it literally, like, if you've never exercised in your life, you can then start to bring these principles into your life and start to feel better in your body. So that's the thing that I love about Pilates, is that you can be like 10 or you can be 85 and you can still find a way to do it, and it's not intimidating.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be something that you're like dripping in sweat and dying and all this stuff about. It can be like gentle, and it can sometimes be just about mobilizing and feeling good in your body. So that's, I think, the thing that's really quite special about it. I just think that it's so accessible to absolutely anyone in any body.
Yeah, the interesting thing for me with Pilates is I was always afraid of doing fitness classes and like, oh, well, if I do this Legree class, I'll be injured. Or if I do this high intensity yoga class, I'll be injured. There was always fear of injury. And when I started working in Pilates, that became just like the baseline for me. And then I could apply the Pilates principles to any workout I did. And then I could go in safely. So I feel like Pilates is a language that once you know it, you can use it forever. Like I think of my Pilates when I'm walking down the street, mobilizing my core. I've had such intense back pain for my whole life. And it's like, oh, because I don't actually know how to engage my core, because you generally don't learn that. And that's like the kind of the essentially basis of Pilates is your core, right? Yeah. One of them, yes. Yeah. I know, as obviously she knows more than I do. Because I do the real training.
No, but it totally is, right? And I think, and I think it's fascinating too to take it from people I've started to work with right now, and like professional dancers and stuff like that. And you start to work with people and they're like, oh my God, I've never engaged properly. And I know, like, Kelly and I have had numerous journeys like this along our way where we've been like, cool, I've never known how to do that in my whole professional career. But working with these people now, and, I'm working with a young professional dancer, and he was saying the other day, like, even going to the gym and things like that, he's realized that he's like gone and done these bigger lifts and like more intense workouts and never engaged stuff properly. And he's like, well, no wonder I was getting injured. And it's true, because it's like when you're not, engaging your inner unit, then you're then there's just nothing stabilizing your body.
Yeah. I was going to say the Pilates practice for me now is a postural practice. It's actually about how am I sitting in this chair right now, and because I've spent so much time researching and learning what the posture is for the integrity of my skeleton, because this is another piece of the puzzle, is that everyone's skeleton is unique. That's also something I never learned, and I don't think is common knowledge so much. We all are trying to jam ourselves kind of into this same shape, and that can be detrimental for certain bodies. And so now it's, what is Kelly Shaw's posture? And I love how you said it's about working in to out. And for that, what comes up for me there is this idea of embodiment, this idea of mindfulness. And in other modalities and spiritual practices, it does have this way of being aware from the inside out. And spending time to get to know yourself in that way on a physical plane. It gets you in a soul space, it gets you in a body space and a mind space that sort of can integrate everything, and you just feel stronger, you feel more powerful, you're able to go to the gym and lift more, but feel that it's this whole body experience that you feel safe doing. We use this word all the time. Like, what is making me feel safe? And of course, like, yes, literally safe on a physical way, but just safe that you mentally, as you said, can go into a different class or lift that heavy box because you're moving apartments and not blow up your back.
Yes.
And I think we can all agree the most pervasive injury you hear about from every age demographic is a low back injury.
Yeah.
And now,
100%.
you know, we're in flexion. The head is forward. We're in this. To no one's fault. This is the way of the world. But so to just be with our posture and to get to know it again is just invaluable work for anyone.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, we're so happy to have you here today, so that we can be led through something that doesn't feel like too big of a bite. It's just like a little bite size, a little spoonful.
Yeah.
But you could have it be a morning practice that is something like a meditative experience where you're just with your body.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, is that it does end up being, because so much of it is really small movement, it's small muscles that you're engaging in your body, it does become very meditative in the sense that you're really having to take yourself inwards. It's a lot to do with breath, so it's like a good practice of just breathing, a good practice of coordinating breath and movement, which we don't always do. So it's like all these things that are just really internal, and it can be really gentle. It can be done with your eyes closed. Like, it can be done however you want it to be done, to just be really gentle and soft and mindful about it all.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I just want to get into it.
Me too. My body says,
let's go.
Let me feel good.
So Julia's now going to walk us through about a 20-minute practice that is about, well, I guess you can kind of speak to what you plan to do.
Yeah, I think we're just going to do something today really gentle. And I think if this focus will be more on just mobility, like getting our bodies feeling good and getting us feeling a little bit stable. And it's always stuff that you can continue to build off of if you want that little bit more of like a burn or whatever. But I think we'll focus it more on just like getting the muscles working so that we're feeling strong in our bodies and we're feeling, a little bit more loose in our spines and that kind of thing. And we'll try to make it that it's accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
Love that.
All right. Let's get set up.
Let's do it. 5, 6, 7, 8. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So we're going to start this in. We're going to begin with some breathing just to connect into your bodies. So to start with, so just a little cue is that, or a little bit of information is that with Pilates breath, often you think about breathing in like a 3D form. So a thought of that your ribs kind of expand forward, expand sideways, diagonals, all that kind of thing. I also like at the beginning to also think about breathing into the belly, just to start to really find your breath and find that connection into your core. Also because we just never breathe into our bellies ever. So let's take a big breath into that belly. Good, and then exhale, pull your belly button down into your spine and feel like your hip bones are trying to pull closer together. And then again, take a big deep inhale in. And again, feel belly button down into your spine, hip bones pulling together like you've got a corset on that's wrapping tight around your waist. 2 more like that. Inhale. And exhale. Good, finding that connection. And let's take 1 more. Inhale. And exhale. Very good. And then let's bring your legs up to a bent position, please. So feet are on the floor. Nice. And just to begin with, I just want you to actually pull your knees in towards your chest. And just do a couple little circles around with your knees. So I just want you to take your knees in the same direction, over to the right or over to the left. Do a couple one way and a couple the other way. And this just kind of gets our lower back moving a little bit, mobilizing through our spine, getting our tailbone uncrunchified. That is the technical term. Good. And then let's place the feet down onto the floor. Very nice. And actually, one more thing that we're going to do just to get that spine moving is I want you to take your knees back up in towards your chest. And I want you to pull your forehead into your knees. And I want you to try to get yourself into like a tiny, tiny little ball. So you'll feel your core engaging here. And then exhale, take your head back down. Good. And then we're going to do one more like that. We're going to bring our head up. Squeeze yourself in. Be the tiniest, tiniest little ball. Good. And then rest yourself back down. And then float your feet one at a time back down towards the floor. Good. So we're going to start with our pelvis here. So as we're moving, I want you to think about your pelvis is going to just shift back and forth a little bit. So we're going to take an inhale in. And then on our exhale, I want you to think of tipping your tailbone under and lengthening your lower back into the floor. Good. And again, take an inhale back to neutral. And then exhale, tucking your tailbone under. And when we say neutral, we just kind of mean our tailbone heavy into the floor. There should be that little space under your lower back. And then as you exhale, you get rid of that little space and you lengthen the lower back because the tailbone, pubic bone tip upwards. Good. And again. And exhale, tucking the tailbone. Nice. And let's do one more there. And tuck. Nicely done. You're going to take one more inhale. And on your next exhale, you're going to slowly begin to lift your hips up, going into that first hip roll. So thinking pressing into your feet, engaging in your glutes. Good. And slowly bringing yourself up. Nice. So I'm going to let you guys hold here for a second. When we're in this position, you want to feel like your hip bones are pulling up towards the ceiling. And you're thinking a little bit of that tuck position that we found on the floor. Because most people, Kelly, maybe if you can show, most people go into a little bit of an anterior tilt, which means their bum's kind of hanging down to the floor a bit more. And there's this dip. So you want to think of pulling out of that, really squeezing from the crease of your bum here and letting yourself be nice and flat in the front of your hips. Good. Take an inhale in at the top and then exhale, softly lower yourself back down. And this position is so good for us all to do right now because of all the sitting we're doing. So take an inhale in again. And then exhale, engaging your core, pulling your hip bones together, pressing in through your feet. Good. And then again, as we're here, we're thinking of knitting the front ribs together. You're almost thinking of dropping your back ribs down to the floor as you're pressing up through your hips. So there's a little bit of an opposite feeling there. Good. Take one more inhale in. And then exhale, softly lower yourself down vertebrae by vertebrae. So you're trying to really roll yourself through that spine. Nicely done. We're going to do one more. Inhale in. Exhale, tuck and roll yourself up. Good. And then we also want to feel here like there's a little bit of a pull between your inner thighs. So just feeling that there's that little bit of energy, but you're still thinking of your knees stacking on top of your ankles. So watching that you're just in a nice straight line there, and heels should be underneath your knees. Taking an inhale in, and then exhale, softly roll down through your spine, vertebrae by vertebrae. Very nice. Good. We're going to come back to those later. But for right now, we're going to take an inhale in again. And then exhale, you're going to lift your right foot only a centimeter off the floor. So just hover. That's a very big centimeter, Bree. And lower it back down. Just calling you out. Inhale again. And then exhale, take your left foot 1 centimeter off the floor. Good. Still a little large, but that's fine. Inhale back to neutral. And then exhale, take your right foot off. So what this is doing is you'll feel your pelvis wants to kind of tip back and forth. So you guys can keep going on your own tempo. But as we're doing this, we're trying to keep our pelvis really nice and still. So we're trying to keep our hip bones level. We're trying not to kind of let that pelvis rock as your foot comes off. And you'll realize that the lower you keep your foot to the floor, actually the harder it is here. Mm-hmm. It's really difficult to try to find that stabilization, but it's a super good one just to start. Good.
And I also find with stuff like this, my rib cage
wants
often wants to pop as
yes.
compensation. So that's like something specifically I'm feeling right now.
Totally.
For my posture that sometimes likes to be splayed.
Yes. Yeah. And so here we always want to feel those back ribs kind of sinking into the floor. But because we're in our neutral spine, you actually still have that little tiny lightness, I'm going to say, under the lower back. It might not be a huge space for everyone, but there's a little bit of lightness. We're not pushing down into that lower back. The tailbone is heavy and the back ribs are heavy. Good. So we'll do one more on each side and then we'll keep going from here. One more on the left. Good. And then the next time your right leg comes up, you're going to lift it all the way up to tabletop. So tabletop, for those of you who don't know, is knee stacked right on top of your hip and shin is parallel to the floor. And let's bring the other leg up to join it. Good. So here, one of the first things that happens is that people rock into that lower back space. So we want to feel your tailbone still heavy into the floor. Good. And then we're going to take an inhale down with that right leg, thinking of the thigh pressing away from you. Exhale, bring it back up. Good. Left leg. So you're really feeling this hinging feeling from the hip. The knee angle stays exactly the same. And this is basically a bigger version of what we just did with that little centimeter off the floor. Now at any time with these, if you want to kind of up the ante a little bit, you can take your arms up to the ceiling and have your palms facing each other. And it just, sure, that's great. So we can show both variations here. Very nice. Good, we're gonna do 2 more like this, right side. And we're feeling those hip bones pulling together each time. Exhale. Nice, staying there. Now from here, we're gonna take the right leg and we're gonna open it like a book to the side. So you're gonna think of opening the whole thigh bone and the shin. So the whole leg's gonna open, that's it. And then pull it back into center. Nice, and then left side. So with this one, you'll find your movement might not be very big. This might be really small because when your leg comes open to the side, your whole pelvis is gonna wanna tip yourself over. So it might be a really small movement, but you'll feel again, the core really has to hold and engage to pull you back. And this is just kind of engaging some of those obliques, getting them working as well, but really still working on that deep transverse, which is what we're engaging here with most of our Pilates work, if not all of our Pilates work, is that we're trying to find that deep core engagement. Good.
Amazing that I'm shaking already.
Oh, yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
I love it.
That's the sad part about this. All this stuff looks super easy and it's really not. You're like, I'm hardly moving. How is this so hard? Good. And then from there, let's just hug the knees into the chest. Good. Give it a little break. Just let yourself relax that. Amazing. We're going to put our feet back down onto the floor. We're going to take our arms up to the ceiling for this one. You're going to clasp your hands together. If you want to do Charlie's Angels fingers, you can, because obviously that would be fun.
Hello.
So, I mean, you're right. Who are we kidding? They're right here. So this is going to help with some of our spine mobilization as well. So from here, you're going to take your arms. Your elbows are going to stay straight for this, so that one is going to want to bend, and you're not allowed to. Not allowed. So keeping both elbows straight, you're going to plug your arm bones back into their socket. And then from here, you're going to take your arms, start to tip them over to the right. So your left shoulder is going to come off the floor. Your head's going to go with your arms with this one. And then exhale, pull yourself back to center. Good. And then inhale over to the left. Exhale yourself back. Good. And again, go inhale. So this is starting to find the mobility in that kind of upper portion of your back, your thoracic. So that midsection is where a lot of us get super stuck. So this is a really nice one to kind of find a little bit more mobility here. And while you're doing this, your hip bones, my demonstrators here are doing a great job. Your hip bones are wanting to stay equal. So both sides of your pelvis are staying heavy into the floor, but you're trying to then move that one shoulder off so that you're finding that twist in your spine. And again, depending on who you are, you might not have a huge amount of rotation here. I certainly don't. But it's just getting it moving. And with one thing about freeing up your spine is that rotation is often like a gateway to help the rest of your spine move. So that's kind of a nice little tidbit. Good, let's do one more on each side. Inhale, reach, 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 exhale, nice. And then inhale and exhale, good. And bringing your arms back down to your sides. And we're gonna take an inhale in. And we're gonna exhale, belly button into spine, tuck your pelvis and roll your hips up. So we're going back into that glute work. Good. So from here, you wanna feel all 10 toes on the floor. You wanna feel your heels pressing down. We're gonna do little movements here. You're gonna drop your hips only 1 inch and then press them back up. That was a much better inch than before. And go drop an inch and press. So this is just disengaging and then re-engaging in those glutes. And when you're doing this sort of movement, you really want to feel like the crease of your bum, where your bum and your hamstring meet. That's where you're pressing up from. So that's going to really get the right engagement.
That sleeping booty.
Just going to lift that booty up nice and strong, you know? Down and up. Good. Let's do 3 more. 3 and squeeze. 2 and squeeze. 1, squeeze up and hold. Very nice. Now from here, we're going to do little tips. So you're going to take your pelvis, the right side is going to tip down towards the floor a little bit. Nice. And then bring it back up to center and go left. So it's almost like your pelvis is a bowl, and bring it back up. And like that bowl is tipping water over to the right and then pulling it back up to center, tipping to the left and pulling it back up. Good. Again. Inhale, exhale, squeeze. Inhale, exhale, squeeze. Good. Let's do 2 more. 1, squeeze, and 2, squeeze up. And then let's do 8 more little pulses up to the ceiling. 8, 7. Now we'll really feel that burn. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Inhale, and then exhale, slowly lower down, soften through your spine. Nice. Good. And then let's just let the knees go right to left just to kind of relax that all out. And with that as well, because we're doing this as a shorter practice, you could do another set of that straight away, and even a set after that. Do 3 sets of it to really kind of get your glutes working and getting that burn going. But we are going to change over onto our side. So let's turn to face, we're going to put our left side onto the floor. Great, we're going to bend our legs. Nice. So from here, anytime you're doing this side lying position, you want to feel like your top hip is pulling away from your shoulders. So you want to kind of, you can even take your hand and physically kind of pull that hip away. And what that's going to do is that's going to create this space under your waist, because if you don't, you get like a little bit slumpy here and you're actually in a bit of a side curve. So you just want to think of that top waist nice and long. Very good. And then from here, we're going to keep our feet together. We're going to open the top knee up. So we're going to go into a clamshell for 8. And down. 7. And down. Nice. And as you're doing this, you want to keep your hips really nice and still so that they're not opening as your knee opens. So also imagining that there's a wall behind you can help that feeling. Let's do 3 more. 3, 2, 1. Nice, lower it down. Now we're going to keep the leg in the same alignment, and you're going to lift your whole leg up into kind of like this parallel leg lift. That's it. And then lower it back down. And go 2. And down. And as you can see, when you're doing these lifts, it doesn't need to be super high. It's not like a super physical big movement. Yeah, because we're just getting the right muscles engaging in the correct alignment, which I think is super important to remember. Good. Let's do 3 more. 3, 2, 1. Lower it down. Very good. We're going to kick our legs out to a little 45 degrees in front of us.
Oh, yeah.
These are Bree's favorite. So from here, we're going to have our feet flexed. Your spine is still nice and long, so we're not curving our spine. The legs don't need to be super high. They can, any sort of angle forward is going to change this exercise a bit. So from here, feet are flexed. You're going to lift your top leg up to hip height and lower it down. Good. And 2. And because we've created this longer lever, you really feel it into that top leg. Down.
Yep.
4. And down. 4 more. Go 4. And 3. And 2. Hold it up on 1. We're going to do 8 little pulses up. Go for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and lower it down. Good. And let's swing ourselves around to the other side.
Yep.
Yep,
I
yep,
didn't
yep.
say I liked them because they were fun.
So true.
Oh, should I? Oh, that's a little bootylicious.
No one's going to be mad about seeing your bum, but you know. Good. So let's start with the legs bent. So we're going to start with our clamshells and going for 8. And I'm going to let you guys keep track of these ones too. So one of the things that a lot of people don't realize with back pain is that a lot of it comes from weakness in your glutes. Not all of it, but often we have weakness or parts of our glutes that kind of aren't firing properly or anything like that. So the combination of weak glutes and weak core often leads to back issues, especially for the general public. So this is a really good way to... Let's go parallel leg lift. I told them to be in charge of it and they messed up. And let's go for 8 parallel leg lifts. 8 and down. So this getting these two things engaged, core engaged, glute engaged, should help relieve and some of that back pain. 4. Good, let's do 4 more. Go for 4. And 3. And 2. And 1. Nicely done. Lower that leg down. Kick those feet out to that 45-degree angle. Perfect. And go, lifting up from there. And then in this position, we just want to make sure that top leg is staying fully parallel, that you're not kind of opening that top leg to turn out, because that's easier and we don't want to do that. So we want to keep that leg fully parallel, and then that's really getting into those small little muscles. Good. Let's do 3 more. Go 3. I lost count, so you might get 1 less. 2. Last one. Hold it up. And then we're going to do our 8 little pulses here. Go for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and lower it all the way down. Very good.
Doesn't take much.
Doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Gets them going.
Yeah.
Let's turn on to our stomach from there. All right. So from here, you're just gonna have your hands on your forehead. When we are lying on our stomachs, the biggest thing that you wanna watch is that you're feeling like your pubic bone is pushing down into your mat a little bit. So what that's gonna do is get you out of arching in your lower back with any back stuff we do. So we're gonna keep this one nice and simple. You're gonna keep your arms on the floor, ladies, as we do this, and we're just gonna let our backs mobilize a bit and start to engage. So we're gonna take an inhale in. Exhale, you're gonna lengthen through your spine nice and long, and then start to bring your chest up, keeping your arms heavy in the floor. Good. And again, depending on the mobility of your spine, you might come up a lot, you might not come up very much at all. Inhale at the top, and then exhale, softly bring yourself back down. Good. And again, inhale in. Exhale, lengthen your spine long and start to bring your collarbones up. Good. Feeling your belly button still pulling into your spine, so you're still feeling that engagement. Inhale in and exhale yourself back down. Very good. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale, lengthen up. Nice. Inhale and exhale yourself back down. Let's do 1 more. Inhale. Exhale, lengthen. Inhale in and exhale down. We'll do 2 more where we just up the ante. You could always stay with this version, but this one you're going to keep your hands attached to your forehead. Inhale in. Exhale, bring your arms off the floor with your back. That's it. Inhale at the top and exhale yourself back down. Good. Let's do 1 more like that. And I want you to leave your elbows a little heavier towards the floor as you come up. Yes. Inhale at the top and exhale yourself back down. Very good. 1 more we're going to do here. You're going to open up your arms to cactus position. So this is like a 90-degree angle, a goalpost position. From here, you're going to take your inhale, and on your exhale, you're going to lift your arms off the floor. Feel like you're squeezing your shoulder blades together. Yes. And bring them back down to the floor. Good. And actually, we're going to go inhale to lift. Exhale to come back down. Good. So you're feeling like you're squeezing a pencil between your shoulder blades as you do this. This is also a nice one, kind of opens our chest a little bit, and especially with all of our slouchy forward right now from doing so much sitting. Let's do 2 more. Inhale. Exhale down. Last one. Inhale up. Exhale down. Very good. And then just bring your hands in by your shoulders, and you can push yourself back onto your heels. Do a little child's pose.
Oh, that was nice.
Stretch that all out. Very good. Nicely done. And let's come up onto all 4s. So your hands are going to be stacked right underneath your shoulders. Your knees are going to be under your hips. And we're going to do a personal favorite, just some cat-cows, just to get your spine moving. So you're going to contract yourself up. You're going to try to get your forehead to your belly button. So thinking of scooping out your spine. That's nice. And then going through, you're going to arch yourself, and you're going to think of bringing your chest through your arms. Good. And again, go tuck your tailbone under, try to get your belly button towards your forehead. Scoop, 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 scoop. And then go through to your arch. Good. Let's do 2 more like this. Go inhale. And go through to your arch. Nice. Last one. Go. Tuck your tailbone under, and you want to feel that pulling up of your belly button into your spine, so you're really scooping up, puffing up between your shoulder blades, and then go through to your arch. Nice. And then you're gonna come into your neutral spine. So your neutral spine is that long feeling, like we had on the floor. You're gonna feel like your tailbone's pulling out behind you, and then the top of your head is reaching out in front of you. Now, when you're here, you also wanna feel like your ribs are pulling up into your body, so they're not kind of hanging out and arching forward, but that's pulling up inwards. And here, let's just find those 2 breaths that we did at the beginning. So you're gonna feel your breath into your belly. Your belly's gonna fall towards the floor a little bit while you keep your spine long. And then exhale, pull it into your spine. Nice. And again, go inhale and exhale, pull that in. Nice. Now we're just going to find our regular breath, but keeping that engagement in your core. Let's see how we do this time. Lift your right hand an inch off the floor. Good. And lower it down. Left hand an inch. And you can just bend that elbow a little bit as you lift it up and lower it down. Good. Right side again. And left side. Nice. Now from here, we're going to take our right arm, left leg, and we're going to reach it up and out in front of us and behind us. So that arm's going to come parallel to the floor, the leg's coming parallel to the floor, and your hips are trying to stay parallel to the floor, which is the hardest part. Keep that belly button in, and then bring it back in towards the floor. And other side, go reaching out and up, keeping that long feeling of reaching your fingers away, reaching your toes away, but still plugging those arm and legs back in their socket, and come back in. Good. Again, go reaching out and bring it in. And one more. Good. And bring it in. Now from here, we're going to tuck our toes under. Nice little core engagement. We're going to hover our knees just an inch off the floor. So go, lift them off, recurring theme. And exhale, take them back down. And go, bring them up. Good. So we're really engaging there. And down. Good. And go 3. And down. 2 more. 2. And down. And it wouldn't be complete if we don't hold this one. So go up and hold. We're going to hold for 8, 7, 6. We're keeping that long spine. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower it down. I see the shake. I love that. And sit yourself back onto your heels. Good. Good. And we're just going to finish off by doing a couple little stretches just to finish that practice off. So when you ladies are ready, you can come back to lay onto your back.
Ooh.
Are we feeling engaged?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yes. Good, good, good. So we will go onto our back. We're going to take our right foot across to our other knee. And some of you, this will probably be a sufficient stretch. If you feel like you need a little bit more, you grab underneath your thigh of your supporting leg and bring that in. And just breathe into that hip, breathe into that bum. Good.
And I know for so long my glutes were really tight, so I assumed they were strong.
Yeah.
But there is such a thing as tight and weak.
Totally. It's very depressing to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it's like strengthening and then making sure we're stretching
For
so
sure.
we're getting both. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. And let's swap to the other side. Good. And bringing that in. So much breathing.
Nailing our Pilates breathing here.
Totally nailing it, you guys.
Well, and I love what you said too about, there is a lot of breath with it, so there is something very meditative about that.
Yeah, and I feel like that's been one of the biggest things with my learning of all of this stuff is the incorporation of the breath into it. I feel like I did really good breathing before I started. Like before the exercises started, not necessarily combining it together.
Yeah.
And I know as dancers especially, we hold our breath all the time to do the crazy stuff that we have to do. So
true.
it's a good learning lesson. Good, and then let's take ourselves onto our side. We'll go to face the front and bend your legs in. And you're gonna take both arms in front of you actually. So you're gonna have like a little prayer position in front, that's it. And then you're just gonna open that top arm up. And you can open it all the way towards the floor. High five your friends. Good. That's it. So this one will just allow that kind of spinal twist to happen. And you can always take that top knee and let it kind of fall over your other knee if you need like a little bit more of a stretch. Ooh. Or that might be way too intense. And then bring your knees back stacked on top of each other. Bring your arm back up and over. Good. And then let's do a little, just flip around to the other side. You can do a little booty moment.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Give the people what they asked for.
Cute booties. Give them what they paid for. And go up and over with that top arm. Good. Nice. And while you're here too, you want to just think of breathing into this and allowing that twist to happen. So allowing your hips to stay square, but allowing your chest to kind of open up. Allowing that top knee to fall over, or you might find that one side's different from the other, and you can always apply different stretches or different modifications to either side.
Right, it's so true. I get stubborn.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
they need to be
Has to
so
be equal.
symmetrical.
Yeah, that's inbred into us.
Quote
But
unquote balance.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is okay. You might find that one side has a lot more pain or whatever. Bring it back. Arm comes back up and over. And then bring yourself back onto your back. And we're going to bring those knees back into your chest.
Ooh, low back feeling good.
I was just going to say, feel how it is. And then I want you to do the same thing like we did at the beginning. Pull your forehead in towards your knees. And hopefully that feels a little easier. And then exhale, bring it back out. And then one more time, bring it in. We're going to do one more little challenge. Keep yourself where you are, but pull your arms up to the ceiling and try to hold yourself there for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Hand back down, grab behind your knees. You can do a little rock and roll to come and bring yourself up. And you guys were great students. You're all done. You're so welcome. Gold stars all around.
That was fabulous.
What? Just so we know, timing wise, what time do you have on your clock? How long was that?
I think we did about 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah,
Perfect.
20 minutes,
So
25
that's
minutes.
Something that you can do waking up, first thing in the morning, or even after you've had your coffee, or before you go to bed.
Yeah.
It's kind of at any point throughout the day. And do I feel like I got a crazy workout? Am I sweating? Do I feel exhausted? No, but I feel work that happened. There was heat growing, there was strength building, and I just feel so much more mobile and ready to go through my day without pain now, or with dramatically reduced pain.
Yeah, totally. Good little setup.
Great little setup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so fabulous. And let's just ask you if you have any offerings right now, or when your training will be over, what you're hoping to move forward with in this specific modality. In case people are really interested in contacting you, can you give out your information?
Just throw my phone number on here.
Across the screen.
Is that good info? Like, I'd like that attachment, please, in a banner below. I am. So I'm finishing up my training within the next couple months, and my thing right now going forward is that I'm really interested in working one-on-one with people, especially in this climate at the moment. And I just think it's interesting to be able to deal with people's issues one-on-one instead of in a class setting where you don't get quite that same attention, I guess, to your stuff. So I definitely will be offering privates. I'm doing some privates right now for my practicing, and then we'll continue with that. And I'm excited with that. And maybe we'll do some classes throughout the summer and things like that, but that's kind of my approach at the moment. Yeah.
And you do currently one-on-ones in person with people within your bubble, like us. And you also are able to do so on Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can do them on Zoom. And also, like, with it being nice outside soon, outside.
Small group class outside.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, amazing. And then do you have an Instagram or an email?
I do.
We can put it in the show notes as well. But
We can have it at the banner that runs across. At J Cratchley, CRATCHLEY is my Instagram, and we'll say that's probably easiest.
Yeah,
to contact there.
Yeah, and we can add additional information.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know I have a really funky hip thing happening right now with a lot of pain, and working with Julia, doing that 45-degree angle one, I'd never done that before. And after that first session with you that we did that, I was like, oh my God, I can walk without pain right now.
Yeah.
So it's still an ongoing journey, but it's like there's all these little tools that, especially as somebody who has a lot of pain, a lot of injuries, has been physically active your whole life, it's you have like a quick way in.
Yeah.
You're not coming from an outsider's perspective. You have been there before.
Yes,
so
totally.
it's additional information I find with you to help problem solve faster.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah. That's great.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Julia.
You're so welcome.
Wonderful.
Thank you for
You're so
being with
welcome.
us today, and we can't wait for more from you.
Yeah.
Go team.
Yay!
Nice.
Like we used to do like a high five, like triple high five or something.